Have you ever watched a movie and realized that there was so much more to it than what met the eye? Well, that's exactly what happened with Jordan Peele's Get Out. This film isn't just a horror movie. It's a social commentary on the complexities of race relations in America. By watching it twice, you can uncover all of its covert messages, from false appearances to hidden animosity. The film poses the question of whether your friends are trustworthy and whether they genuinely accept you for who you are, or if they harbor ulterior motives. Stick around because we're going to dive deep into the messages hidden within Get Out. And trust me, you don't want to miss it. Jordan Peele, the writer, director, and co-producer of Get Out, has a penchant for concealing Easter eggs in his movies. By watching this film twice, you can uncover all of its covert messages. The movie delves into the theme of false appearances, wherein the reasons why people may dislike you can be transparent or shrouded. It poses the question of whether your friends are trustworthy and whether they genuinely accept you for who you are, or if they harbor ulterior motives. Get Out explores the dread and creepiness underlying U.S. race relations, revealing how ill will between white and black communities can be camouflaged by courtesy. Chris's adoration for Rose masks this hidden animosity. The film's concealed messages are brought to the fore. Chris's intelligence and composed demeanor make his character all the more likable. He handles himself rationally, is perceptive, and is relatable. He decides to overlook the first two unpleasant occurrences to avoid offending Rose or her parents and calmly requests to go home instead. The opening song, Sikiliza, is played 3 times throughout the movie, urging Chris to flee. The song represents the collective voice of our community, history books, and forefathers. It hauntingly reminds us to stay vigilant of white supremacy and the world around us. Chris discusses his experiences as an African American during the party, and the song plays again when he gazes upon the mounted deer head. During the car ride to Rose's parents' home, Chris calls his best friend Rod and puts him on speakerphone. He humorously suggests that Rose should have dated Rod instead of him. Later, it is revealed that Rose's family abducts black people to transfer the minds of white cult members into healthy black bodies to ensure longevity. Rose knew Rod before Chris, but she chose Chris because of his excellent health, vision, and photography skills. She was also recruited to lure wealthy targets to the family's auctions, which symbolizes slavery in the pre-Civil War era, wherein auctioneers stood on a pedestal while wealthy individuals bid on the slaves they desired. The Armitage family reveals themselves as slave traders as they prepare to auction Chris off. Rod, who is overweight and wears glasses, taunts them as he tends to do. However, his fear of Chris going to Rose's family home indicates that he senses something inexplicable. When Rose hits a deer on the way to the Armitage residence, it is a crucial moment that represents several things. Deer are a symbol of unwelcome visitors being hunted, and Chris is viewed as such by the Armitage family. They hunt and collect these prey as trophies. Jeremy checks on the deer with compassion, while Rose exhibits sociopathic traits and a lack of empathy. Chris's discomfort is evident when he meets the family, as he nervously taps the table on the back porch. This is unusual behavior for him, as he usually smokes to relieve stress. Missy claims her dominance by tapping a glass with a spoon, indicating that hypnotism can occur without Chris's knowledge. The silver spoon is a representation of white privilege, and the use of color is subtly employed to depict alliances and conflicts between characters. Rose's colors change from blue to crimson, showing Chris's vulnerability and isolation when he is being auctioned off. She represents Republican values by wearing red, which makes Chris a target when he wears blue and excludes him. Red is associated with danger because it draws attention and is often used in symbols of authority like stop signs and fire trucks. Many guests at the Armitage's party wear red to show their allegiance to a secret society, symbolized by their red handkerchiefs, ties, skirts, or shirts. The color red also represents their willingness to shed blood to achieve their goals. Rose drove Chris home in her red car, putting him at risk. At the party, their clothing resembled the American flag, with Chris as a symbol of racial inequality in a predominantly white town. This reflects the reality of segregation and the challenges that African Americans have historically faced, including the legacy of slavery and forced migration. Missy exerts complete control over Chris from her position of power. During his hypnosis, Chris has an emotional experience and tries to resist the hypnotic sound by pulling cotton from the chair. This alludes to the cotton industry in the Deep South that fueled slavery and contributed to the forced migration of millions of people. Missy's mind control techniques are reminiscent of the rumored brainwashing of celebrities through programs like MKUltra. Celebrities sometimes display blank stares or lose their train of thought, which some attributed to programming errors. This phenomenon is exemplified by incidents such as Cardi B's blank expression on the Grammy red carpet and Draymond Green's 19-second silence during a 2017 news conference. It is disconcerting to think that even our public figures may be subject to such manipulations. The impact of mind control extends beyond athletes and musicians, as evidenced by retired astronaut Hayden Maurice Piper's 2006 UFO encounter in Houston, Texas. During her news conference, she collapsed before completing her statement, leading some to speculate that she may have been hypnotized. After discovering the truth about the Armitage family, Chris finds himself pursued by Rose, who is enjoying a bowl of Fruit Loops and milk. While the combination of milk and colorful cereal may seem harmless, given the history of segregation and discrimination against people of color, Rose's actions may be more sinister. By serving the milk and Fruit Loops separately, she may be perpetuating the idea of segregation. As Chris makes his escape in Jeremy's car, he hears the song Run Rabbit Run playing on the radio. The song was also playing when Andre was kidnapped, confirming that Jeremy was responsible for his abduction. The eerie chords of the song seem to reflect Jeremy's dominance over his prey, and the rabbit symbolizes the historical oppression of black people by white people. On his first night in captivity, Chris is given carrot cake to eat. This act of feeding black people to other black people is a disturbing reminder of the negative stereotypes that have historically been used to justify the mistreatment of African Americans. These stereotypes have perpetuated the idea that black people are subhuman and have been used to justify acts of cruelty and injustice throughout history. Unfortunately, such absurd and harmful stereotypes continue to persist. The fatalities in the film were intricate and involved multiple members of the Armitage family. The evil surgeon, the Dean, had a twisted belief that killing deer was beneficial for humanity, and he lied to cover his actions. During surgery, Chris used a deer figure to stab Dina in the throat. Misty, the hypnotist, had the power to put patients under her spell with just her gaze. But Chris managed to kill her in her workplace. Jeremy, who was skilled in jiu-jitsu, was also tricked by Chris and had his head broken. Rose, the ultimate manipulator and psychopath, was the mastermind behind the family's evil plans. But her betrayal ended up leading to her demise. The film had two endings. First, Rod came to Chris's rescue and the impact of the police vehicle creeping up was significant. Chris had given up hope at that point, as he knew the usual outcome for a black man stopped by the police. However, seeing Rod provided him with some comfort. As Rod drove away, Chris thought about smoking a cigarette, something he had craved during his time at the Armitage home, but never got to do due to their hypnotic control over him. If he were to smoke one now, it would symbolize the end of the Armitage family's psychological hold over him. However, the fact that there may be other victims out there who are still under the Armitage family's mind control cannot be ignored. While Rod insists that they are working to address this, the question remains, can Chris truly be free? The fire that destroyed much of the evidence didn't completely erase the evidence of the groundskeeper, housekeeper, and driveway woman's deaths. The groundskeeper had died from a self-inflicting gunshot wound, and gunshot residue on his hands would confirm that he had shot Rose. Chris, on the other hand, had strangled her, leaving his fingerprints on the murder weapon, Rose's neck, and the car. An autopsy would show that all the black victims were missing, indicating that something sinister was at play. The partygoers' behavior is also significant. Rose and the Armitage family introduced Chris by his first name, implying that he was a commodity to them. His family, upbringing, and life are irrelevant. Can elderly white folks recognize a black guy by his first name? The FBI has its hands full. The alternative ending is depressing. Chris is imprisoned, likely for life. Chris refuses to fight, but Rod will help him escape, implying that he stopped it. Jordan Peele's test audience adored Chris and wanted him to win. Filmmakers think Chris winning would send a stronger message, thus Peele's happy ending. This finale shows the reality. Black Americans face different realities. Black treatment is the main difference. Misunderstandings, judgment, and bias, like normalizing black violence, are things we ignore when we normalize them. Get Out is a masterful film that skillfully explores the theme of false appearances and the insidious ways in which racism can manifest itself in everyday interactions. Jordan Peele's ability to incorporate subtle symbols and messages into the film makes it a thought-provoking experience that demands multiple viewings to fully appreciate. It is a timely reminder to stay vigilant and aware of the dangers that lurk beneath the surface, and to question the motives of those around us. As we continue to grapple with issues of race and inequality in our society, Get Out serves as a powerful commentary on the state of our world and the urgent need for change. And that's all for today. Thanks for watching.